Hello guys, for quite a while I haven't done code reviews on this channel, and I received a tweet mentioning me about tests. So someone asks to review a test suite in Laravel. I'm sure I'm not doing some things right. And first, before doing that, I want to congratulate that person on courage, on attitude, and on behavior. So you have to be really humble and with the right attitude to tweet to someone who has a lot of followers publicly, admit that I'm sure I'm not doing some things right, have public repository, and also have the courage to ask me to review as I'm a busy person and I don't have much free time. So that in itself is already a huge achievement in my opinion, and that's why I decided to spend some time and help that person with my review. It won't be a code review, it will be just review of some of the tests, and I will show you why some. So there's test feature and test integration, a few tests. I haven't even looked at the project, I haven't even launched the project visually. I'm looking just at the tests and will comment on what I find missing or incorrect or maybe could be done better. So I started my review by downloading the code and just trying to launch Artisan Test. The only thing I've changed is in PHPUnit XML, uncommented the memory SQLite database because I like for smaller test suites, start with SQLite unless I find some feature which is MySQL specific. Anyway, PHP Artisan Test, and here the first thing that I will mention, if you put your code into code review by your colleague or in public, prepare that code. Prepare that code so that reviewer wouldn't have to spend time to polish it, to configure something, to understand something. So for example, test unit not found. What do you mean not found? So now I need to debug. Why? Okay, let's close that and let's see PHPUnit XML. Yeah, there's feature and there's integration folders to be launched, and there's also unit, but there's no unit folder here. There's only feature and integration. So that person added the integration but forgot to remove the unit tests if they don't have any. Next launch, PHP Artisan Test. Now it is successfully passing. I mean, the process is working, but 46 failed tests. And now if you ask me to review your code, which ones should I focus on? I thought it would be like 2 or 3 failing tests, or maybe all passing with just some syntax to be improved, but now have a lot of failed tests. While just browsing the code, I realized that it doesn't use refresh database in many test cases and many files. That's why the error is no such table. But I didn't spend more time for all review. I have like 30 minutes or something. I didn't spend time on fixing that. What I did spend time on, a few tests were actually working and passing. So let's focus on those and I will show you a few of my comments. So add comment test, the first in the line. And if we launch that with filter equals class name, pass, pass, pass. Great. Now let's see what's inside of that add comment test and what can we improve. So the setup is creating new user. What is that create user? It's a function inside of test case. So they added another function, create user, for creating a new user, which would be used in any test, in any feature, in any method. That's a good thing to have. Go back to add comment test, test endpoint. Test what endpoint? And this is the first thing I've noticed, the naming of the tests. So pass endpoint, comment added success. I would actually improve the naming. Not just wrong post passed, but can't add comment if post is wrong. Also can't or cannot add comment if body is missing. Also cannot add comment if body is less than 10 characters. That would be much more readable for other developers in the future. So I would change the endpoint, test, comment, store, endpoint, works, something like that. But even here actually, this test is questionable. So it tests that the endpoint works, which means the route works. And it asserts that it redirects. But redirects to what? I don't think that test is really useful. It tests that the route exists, basically. So you don't have 404. But you would get that error from any of the tests below. Separately test that the route exists. I don't think that's really useful, to be honest. And then I see that self-HTTP redirect and self-HTTP not found are constants from the same test case. So not sure if you're aware, but you don't need to define those constants. They are in Symfony, which is used by Laravel. So you can do something like response, and that response should come from Symfony, this one, Symfony component HTTP foundation, and then This is the list. HTTP, whatever you want. HTTP redirect should be here somewhere. This one, HTTP found. That's an interesting name. But anyway, all those status codes exist already in Symfony. No need to redefine them in test case unless you want different names. Next, what I can see in that add comment test, this B user and then this post. I didn't even know that there's this B feature. What I've been using so far, and it's actually shorter or maybe more convenient way, is acting as. So this, acting as, then you pass this user and then post. So there's no need to have separately this B here. This is shorter. Or if it becomes longer, you can of course make that in separate lines like this. More readable maybe. So this is what I would improve as well. This looks pretty good. Comment store with post and assert the validation. Great. Then post and body and assert validation errors less than 10. This is also good because it generates the text with 5 characters. Then another test of another case generates some fake data, pass that and validate something else. Also good. So there's not much to improve here either. Except maybe what I would do is not create the data with faker here all the time. So factory for the models, yes, it's definitely needed, but the data passed to the API should be more specific. Like real, I even like to have meanings to those. For example, valid, comment, text, something like this. So it should be readable, not just any sentence. Besides, factory sentence may create something unexpected invalid. So the test may be failing just because something goes wrong with the factory generator. So maybe I would improve that one. So we reach the end of this file. Nothing really major wrong here. A few things to tweak. And then I want to touch on the second file, which is delete comment test, which also almost works. So if we launch that PHP artisan test with filtering that class, it fails because there's no such table users. So that's how I found out that there's no refresh database happening. And when I added use refresh database here and relaunch, then one of the tests passed. Cool. And now let's see why the other fails. It's actually the same reason. So comment factory tries to create a comment from user and the post, but they don't exist in the database. If you want to create some data in the factories that relies on other models, you need to fill them somehow. One option is to have seeds automatically launched with refresh database, or another way is to actually create the user like this. And that person did half of the job, so user ID is here, but post ID isn't. So we need to also have user ID and duplicate post ID, post factory. Will it work? Let's see. And the same thing for another method. We just don't need to pass user ID with factory. We need to pass the exact user like this. And let's see if it works now. Relaunch. Now 3 tests passed. So one of the important things while working with automated test is actually setting up the test. It's called arrange sometimes. It's about creating the data. You need to create the with or without factories. That's your personal choice. But you need to set up the right scenario. What needs to be overridden should be overridden for this specific test, although factory says differently. And also you need to make sure that the data for that delete actually exists in the database. So that's it for that quick review. I had planned 30 minutes on that, so 15 minutes while actually setting up and reading the code, then 15 minutes to shoot this video. It will be probably edited down to 10-minute video or something, but I hope it's still helpful. The tests are going in the right direction, just needed to be implemented for all the other files in that test suite. If you want to find out more about automated testing in Laravel or my approach to doing that, I have 2 courses, Laravel testing for beginners, for those who haven't even started, and then for those who want more practice and more interesting and challenging scenarios like faking, mocking, and external APIs, there's advanced Laravel testing, both video courses available as part of my membership on laraveldaily.com, so subscribe to yearly or monthly membership there. That's it for this time, and see you guys in other videos.